Shaquille O'Neal, known globally as Shaq, is more than just a basketball legend. He is an icon, a charismatic figure whose larger-than-life persona has captured the hearts of millions. Yet even icons are not immune to the scourge of discrimination. One fateful day, an incident unfolded that would leave an indelible mark on Shaq and everyone who witnessed it. The event, steeped in prejudice, would ultimately reveal the depths of his character and how his response transcended anger, embodying grace, resilience, and profound wisdom. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The story begins at an airport, a place where lives intersect briefly, where people from all walks of life pass through metal detectors and checkpoints on their way to destinations unknown. Shaq, towering at over 7 feet tall, was hard to miss. His broad shoulders carried the kind of quiet confidence that comes from years of hard work and undeniable success. Dressed in a tailored suit, he exuded an aura of dignity and poise. Shaq had just finished a speaking engagement where he inspired young athletes to chase their dreams relentlessly. He was headed back to his home in Orlando, Florida, and had purchased a first-class ticket for the flight. As he approached the boarding gate, a hushed excitement spread through the terminal. People whispered to one another, recognizing the towering figure, their phones discreetly snapping pictures. The airline attendant at the gate, a woman in her mid-30s, seemed initially flustered by Shaq's presence. However, her demeanor quickly shifted into one that was cold and detached. As Shaq handed over his ticket, she gave him a cursory glance and then said something that stopped him in his tracks. "Sir, I'm afraid this line is for first-class passengers only." For a moment, Shaq was confused. He assumed she must not have recognized him or had made an honest mistake. With a genial smile, he pointed to his ticket, clearly marked first class. But the attendant's expression hardened, and she repeated, "This line is for first-class passengers only. Please step aside." Passengers nearby began to murmur, their gazes darting between Shaq and the attendant. The atmosphere grew tense. Shaq, always the epitome of composure, decided to clarify. "Ma'am," he said in his deep, resonant voice, "I'm in first class. Here's my ticket." The attendant glanced at the ticket but seemed unwilling to back down. "Sir," she said, her voice laced with condescension, "I need to confirm this with my supervisor. Please wait here." Shaq could feel the heat of embarrassment rising in him. This was not about a ticket. It was about something deeper, something ugly that he had encountered before. He was no stranger to racism, but experiencing it in such a public setting felt particularly dehumanizing. Still, he decided to remain calm, not wanting to escalate the situation or create a scene. The supervisor arrived moments later, a middle-aged man with a brisk walk and a wary expression. He quickly assessed the situation, examining Shaq's ticket and then looking him up and down. The supervisor's face shifted from suspicion to shock as he realized who he was dealing with. "Mr. O'Neal, I'm so sorry for the misunderstanding," he stammered. "Of course, you're welcome to board first class," but the damage had been done. Shaq nodded and walked past the attendant without another word. The whispers among the passengers grew louder, some condemning the airline staff, others expressing disbelief that a man of Shaq's stature could face such treatment. Shaq could hear snippets of conversations, words like unbelievable and disgraceful floating in the air. As Shaq settled into his seat, he couldn't shake the incident from his mind. He had spent decades building a career, becoming a household name, and using his platform to uplift others. Yet none of that seemed to matter in the face of prejudice. He could have allowed the incident to sour his mood, to fill him with anger or resentment. Instead, he chose a different path. When the flight landed, reporters and fans were waiting, having caught wind of the incident through social media. Cameras flashed, and microphones were thrust in Shaq's direction as he exited the terminal. Everyone wanted to know how he felt, whether he was outraged, and what actions he planned to take against the airline. Shaq paused, his towering frame commanding silence among the crowd. Then in his measured tone, he spoke. "I want to start by saying that what happened today was unfortunate. It's a reminder that we still have a long way to go as a society. But I'm not here to blame or to point fingers. I'm here to inspire change." The crowd was stunned into silence. Shaq continued, "We all have a choice in how we respond to situations like these. I could be angry, but anger doesn't solve anything. What we need is understanding, education, and compassion. I'll be reaching out to the airline not to demand an apology, but to offer a conversation. Maybe this can be an opportunity for growth, for them and for all of us. Shaq's response quickly went viral, sparking a national conversation about racial bias and discrimination. People were moved by his restraint and his commitment to turning a painful experience into a teachable moment. Social media lit up with hashtags like #Shaq4Change, and the incident became a rallying cry for those advocating for equality. The airline, facing mounting public pressure, issued a formal apology and announced plans to implement mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all employees. They also reached out to Shaq, inviting him to participate in a discussion about how they could improve their practices. True to his word, Shaq accepted the invitation, seeing it as an opportunity to make a tangible impact. In the weeks that followed, Shaq met with airline executives, sharing his insights and experiences. He spoke about the importance of empathy and the need for systemic change. His involvement not only helped the airline reevaluate its policies, but also inspired other companies to examine their own practices. The incident became more than just a story of discrimination. It became a testament to the power of grace under pressure. Shaq's response reminded the world that true strength lies not in retaliation, but in the ability to rise above adversity and use it as a catalyst for positive change. In the years that followed, Shaq continued to be an advocate for equality, lending his voice to initiatives aimed at bridging divides and fostering understanding. The incident at the airport became a defining moment in his legacy, not because of the injustice he faced, but because of how he chose to confront it. For Shaq, the experience was a reminder of his own humanity, a chance to reflect on the work that still needed to be done. And for those who witnessed his response, it was an unforgettable lesson in resilience, humility, and the enduring power of kindness. In a world often marred by division, Shaq's story stood as a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of prejudice, it is possible to lead with dignity and inspire change. Shaquille O'Neal's experience at the airport was not just a singular event, but a prism through which society could examine its lingering prejudices and the ripple effects of discrimination. The confrontation at the gate, though humiliating, became a turning point that illuminated the entrenched biases individuals face daily, whether they are world-famous icons or ordinary citizens. What made this story resonate so deeply wasn't just the injustice, but the way Shaq transformed an ugly moment into an opportunity for reflection and action. The aftermath of the event continued to unfold in ways that revealed both the challenges and the triumphs of addressing societal inequities. After the initial media frenzy, Shaq maintained his commitment to using the incident as a platform for change. While many public figures might have opted for legal action or a combative approach, Shaq took a quieter, more deliberate path. He contacted several civil rights organizations to discuss how his experience could shine a light on systemic bias in corporate and service industries. His goal was not only to hold the airline accountable, but to explore broader solutions for ensuring that such moments were not repeated. One of the organizations he reached out to was the Equal Justice Initiative, EJI. Shaq's conversation with Brian Stevenson, the founder of EJI, was a pivotal moment. Stevenson, an attorney and social justice advocate, encouraged Shaq to think beyond his personal experience and consider how his platform could amplify the voices of those without similar visibility. Shaq was moved by the idea that his encounter, as painful as it was, could serve as a catalyst for a larger movement. To begin this work, Shaq announced a collaboration with EGI to create a series of workshops aimed at addressing unconscious bias in customer service industries. These workshops, which drew on real-life scenarios like Shaq's airport incident, were designed to educate employees about the ways implicit prejudices could manifest in everyday interactions. The workshops became a cornerstone of Shaq's response, offering practical tools for fostering inclusion and empathy. The workshops were not confined to the airline industry. Shaq and EJI made a deliberate effort to include representatives from hospitality, retail, and other service sectors. The goal was to create a ripple effect, with employees trained in these workshops bringing their knowledge back to their workplaces and spreading awareness among their peers. Over time, these efforts began to bear fruit, as companies started to report shifts in employee behavior and customer satisfaction. While these workshops were a significant step forward, Shaq recognized that education alone wasn't enough. Structural changes were needed to dismantle the systems that allowed discrimination to persist. To this end, he lobbied for legislative measures that would require corporations to implement anti-bias training as part of their employee onboarding processes. His advocacy caught the attention of lawmakers, some of whom expressed interest in introducing bills that mirrored Shaq's vision. Shaq's advocacy extended to the media as well. He participated in a series of high-profile interviews, not to dwell on his personal experience, but to shed light on the broader implications of bias. In one particularly moving interview, Shaq recounted a childhood memory that had shaped his understanding of race. As a young boy growing up in Newark, New Jersey, he had witnessed his father being pulled over by the police for no apparent reason. Though he didn't fully grasp the situation at the time, he remembered the fear and humiliation in his father's eyes. That memory, he said, had stayed with him and informed his commitment to justice. The interview went viral, resonating with viewers who saw in Shaq not just a basketball legend, but a human being who had faced the same struggles as countless others. His vulnerability endeared him to audiences, and his message of resilience struck a chord with people from all walks of life. Shaq's work didn't stop with corporations and media. He also turned his attention to young people. Recognizing that lasting change would require reaching the next generation, he partnered with schools and community organizations to launch educational initiatives focused on empathy, diversity, and inclusion. These programs, tailored for middle and high school students, used interactive activities to help young people understand the impact of prejudice and the value of seeing beyond stereotypes. One memorable moment from these programs came during a visit to a high school in Atlanta. Shaq shared his story with a group of students, many of whom had faced their own struggles with discrimination. After his talk, a young girl raised her hand and asked, "How do you stay so strong when people treat you unfairly?" Shaq's response was as profound as it was simple. "Strength doesn't come from being angry or bitter," he said. "It comes from knowing who you are and standing tall no matter what. When you know your worth, no one can take that away from you." The girl's question and Shaq's answer became a defining moment of the program, one that was shared widely on social media. Parents and teachers alike praised Shaq for his ability to connect with young people and inspire them to see themselves as agents of change. In addition to his work with students, Shaq launched a scholarship fund to support young people from underrepresented communities pursuing careers in social justice, public policy, or education. The fund, aptly named the Standing Tall Scholarship, reflected Shaq's belief that investing in future leaders was one of the most effective ways to create lasting change. Over the years, the scholarship helped dozens of students attend college, many of whom went on to become advocates for equity and inclusion in their own right. The ripple effects of Shaq's efforts reached far beyond the initial incident at the airport. Communities across the country began to engage in conversations about bias and the ways it could be addressed. Social media became a powerful tool for sharing stories and resources, with countless individuals recounting their own experiences and finding solidarity in the shared struggle for justice. Despite the progress, Shaq's journey was not without its challenges. There were detractors who questioned his approach, arguing that his emphasis on dialogue and education was too lenient. Others accused him of leveraging the incident for personal gain, a claim Shaq dismissed with characteristic humility. "This isn't about me," he said in response to the criticism. "It's about all of us. It's about building a world where everyone is treated with dignity, no matter who they are or where they come from." As the years went on, Shaq's work continued to evolve. He became a sought-after speaker at conferences and events, where he shared his insights on leadership, resilience, and the importance of standing up for what is right. His speeches, often peppered with humor and anecdotes from his basketball career, left audiences inspired and motivated to take action in their own lives. Shaq also wrote a memoir about his experience, weaving together stories from his childhood, his basketball career, and his work as an advocate for justice. The book, titled Standing Tall: Lessons from the Court and Beyond, became a bestseller, praised for its honesty and wisdom. In it, Shaq reflected on the incident at the airport as a turning point that had deepened his commitment to making a difference. The proceeds from the book were donated to organizations working to combat racism and promote equity, further solidifying Shaq's reputation as a leader who walked the talk. Critics hailed the book as a must-read for anyone seeking to understand the complexities of race and identity in America, and it was eventually incorporated into educational curricula in schools across the country. Through it all, Shaq remained grounded. He continued to engage with fans, often stopping to chat and take photos, never letting his celebrity status create distance between him and the people who admired him. He saw his platform not as a pedestal, but as a bridge, a way to connect with others and amplify their voices. The incident that had initially seemed like a painful reminder of society's flaws had become a transformative moment, one that showcased the power of resilience and the potential for change. Shaq's journey was a testament to the idea that even in the face of injustice, it is possible to respond with grace and turn adversity into an opportunity for growth. For Shaq, the legacy of that day at the airport was not defined by the indignity he experienced, but by the actions he took in its aftermath. It was a reminder that every challenge, no matter how daunting, carries within it the seeds of possibility. And for those who followed his story, it was an invitation to stand tall, to rise above, and to work together in the pursuit of a more just and equitable world. As Shaquille O'Neal continued his journey of advocacy and change, his efforts took on new dimensions, further cementing his role as a transformative figure. The incident that had sparked his activism was not an isolated moment, but the ignition for a broader movement that touched industries, communities, and individuals alike. Shaq's influence extended beyond the tangible programs and workshops he spearheaded, becoming an embodiment of resilience and the power of leading by example. One of the most notable expansions of his work came through the arts. Recognizing the cultural impact of storytelling, Shaq partnered with filmmakers and playwrights to create works that explored themes of racial bias, identity, and perseverance. A documentary titled Shaq's Stand was released, chronicling not only the airport incident but the larger societal issues it represented. Featuring interviews with individuals from various walks of life who had faced similar struggles, the film delved into the psychology of bias and how it shapes interactions in daily life. The documentary struck a chord with audiences worldwide, earning critical acclaim for its raw honesty and hopeful message. Shaq's own reflections in the film were particularly moving, as he described his internal journey of grappling with anger and disappointment while choosing a path of constructive action. The film became a valuable educational resource, screened in schools, community centers, and even corporate settings, further amplifying the impact of his message. In addition to his work in media, Shaq expanded his outreach to international audiences. He began collaborating with global organizations, such as UNESCO, to address issues of discrimination and inequality on a broader scale. His workshops were adapted for different cultural contexts and translated into multiple languages, ensuring that the principles of empathy and inclusion could reach people across borders. Shaq traveled to countries where systemic bias was deeply entrenched, sharing his story and encouraging local leaders to take steps toward greater equity. During one such visit to South Africa, Shaq participated in a town hall meeting in Soweto, where he met community leaders and activists. The dialogue centered on the intersections of race, class, and opportunity, and Shaq's insights added a unique perspective. His humility and willingness to listen resonated deeply, and he left the community inspired to implement grassroots initiatives that mirrored his approach. Another aspect of Shaq's evolution was his commitment to mental health and emotional well-being. Recognizing that discrimination often takes a profound psychological toll, he launched an initiative to provide counseling and support for individuals who had experienced bias and prejudice. Partnering with mental health professionals, Shaq helped establish accessible resources for people dealing with the emotional aftermath of discrimination, ensuring they had the tools to heal and move forward. These efforts, while deeply impactful, were just one facet of Shaq's broader mission. He became a mentor to young activists, sharing his experiences and offering guidance on how to navigate the challenges of fighting for justice. He frequently emphasized the importance of self-care, reminding them that the work of change was a marathon, not a sprint. Shaq's story transcended the boundaries of basketball and celebrity, becoming a beacon of hope and a reminder of the potential for growth in the face of adversity. His ability to turn a moment of humiliation into a lifelong mission for justice exemplified the transformative power of resilience, humility, and vision. By continuing to expand his reach and deepen his impact, Shaq ensured that the legacy of that day at the airport would be one of progress, understanding, and a renewed commitment to building a better, more inclusive world. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Shaq's first-class boarding denial based on skin color? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.